Hmm. I don't know how to feel, but we are back at it again with another live one for all you Biconics wrestling nerds out there. And welcome to another episode of Table for Two plus You, the Impact Wrestling Review. I am one of your hosts, Mikey. Joined with me always is my other lovely co host. First and foremost, Will. Happy to have you back for another week. I probably know the answer to this, but how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing splendiferous.
We love using adjectives in this household. We love it. And then of course, literally, I just saw him like 35 minutes ago when we recorded Ring of Honor. But Andrew, welcome to another review. You are blessed and booked on Fridays right now.
Fridays are my go day. That makes Thursday night and Friday morning very busy with wrestling. But it's worth it.
God, tell me about it. Just as a side note too, I need wrestling companies to stop trying to outdo one another because listen, I'm not going to complain about the wrestling we get, but specifically NXT and AEW Dynamite, I need y'all to stop fighting amongst yourselves because especially for somebody who's filling in for Dynamite with the JVL over there, go check out the reviews by the way. Uh that's 4 hours of wrestling I have to watch on Tuesday. That is a lot. That's the same thing that I have to do for Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling on Thursdays. I need y'all to stop it. Just stop. Speaking of stopping, okay, so I didn't hate this episode of Impact. There was a lot that I enjoyed. We are building to Bound for Glory, but there's a lot of stuff that I either rolled my eyes at, had questions about, or literally screamed at my television like, "Oh God, why?" There was a mixture of emotions, but Will, I'm going to come to you first. What are your initial thoughts of this week's Impact as we're building towards Bound for Glory?
Well, I didn't hate it, which is good considering the day I had. I thought there was some, this is a hard one because this episode felt weird to me anyway. This felt weird. I mean, it almost felt like it was out of sync, maybe with the overall Impact sort of journey we're going on. It just felt sort of weird. I don't know. It felt disjointed. It felt like it was slightly out of frame. Because we had some weird moments, like backstage, on stage, and I don't know. It just felt. I mean, and I don't know. I don't know if this is just kind of how it is when you're building up to a big pay-per-view, and they just sort of like put random crap out. Like, oh, we didn't cover this. Let's get rid of it. Sort of like like taking out the trash, basically. Like, well, we got all this we didn't do. Let's just throw it into this one. And then the next week we'll do the same thing until we get to the pay-per-view. And it just, I don't know. It just felt really out of sync for me. And I felt, I don't know. And I had some strong opinions on some parts of it. And then I'd say, this is all right. Not bad. I didn't hate any of it, really. I hate, okay. Yeah, there was, okay. Maybe two, actually. There's probably two. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I thought it started off pretty strong. And then it kind of went somewhere after that.
I feel like we're going to have strong opinions on certain sections, but thank you for letting us know, Will. Andrew, same question. Building for Bound for Glory, how did we feel about tonight's episode?
I mean, it was fun to get some of the Bound for Glory stuff that we got kind of to build up for. There were certain things that happened that had me kind of going, but why? And I felt over the last few weeks of watching Impact, for me, especially getting caught up on it, I think as a whole, this was probably my least enjoyed show. And I think part of it was, like Will was saying, is it was, kind of disjointed. There were parts that were fun, parts that were good, and then there were parts that just either felt unnecessary or they felt unfocused. Um, so yeah, it was an okay card for me. You know, I hope that it just continues to build as we go into the next couple of weeks, as we are building to Bound for Glory, and isn't more of just kind of killing time to get there. But we'll see. But yeah, it was a decent card, but could have been done a little bit better, I think.
I agree. And we'll dive more into it when we get to certain parts, but there was a lot of stuff I enjoyed, but there was also a lot of questions I had at certain parts. And I also feel that a lot of some of it was disjointed, but we'll get to it. So let's just dive right into it. So we opened up Impact this week with a opening with the knockouts match where we had Tasha Steeles taking on Killer Kelly. Listen, I will never get over. I will love MK Ultra's entrance. I'm like, harder. What? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, again, MK Ultra is a tag team I never knew I wanted until I got it, and I loved it. And I actually really enjoyed this match. Now, I want to clarify before I go any
Mm-hmm.
further. Normally, I hate when champions get pinned in matches like this. However, because it was
Yeah.
shenanigans, because Deanna inserted herself a little bit into the match towards the finishing sequence of it and kind of caused the result the way that it did, I'm less mad about it, especially since now, and spoiler alert, we get MK Ultra versus Tasha and Deanna at Bound for Glory. And what I'm hoping is that again, we have two single women's wrestlers thrown together in a tag team. So what I'm hoping is that for some reason they can't get on the same page, and then that leads to a feud between those two, which I will love. And I didn't mind that Killer Kelly lost here because, shenanigans. And so it still made Kelly look strong. And I thought this was a good match to open up with, which I'm not going to be saying that too much because I have questions for some of the rest of these. But Andrew, I'm going to go to you first. What did you think of Tasha versus Killer Kelly to open up the show this week?
This was definitely one of my top matches, if not the top match for me. I thought it was a really good match. It was a good match to see Tasha Steeles kind of come back and have her first singles match since coming back. Um, I didn't mind the champion not winning, especially because it was kind of the singles competitor versus, even though Tasha's had tag team runs too. But, right now she's kind of on her own, or at least she was until the end of this match. Kind of got victorious over the tag team competitor, which set up, the tag match later. Um, I was wondering where Deanna was when Tasha came out on her own after having done that whole thing last week, and I was like, "Where?" And it just seemed weird, especially when your opponent is coming out with some backup. So it was a nice little angle to have her come out and kind of show that she's got her back. Um, and I like the kind of shenanigans that the two of them were getting into. But I also agree. I think it'll be fun for this to build towards a showdown between the two of them, with one of them, maybe coming out heading for another title shot. But the match overall was a lot of fun. I thought they each had some really good moments in there, and especially with the way that MK Ultra has looked recently, having Tasha look really good in there against another strong competitor was a great way to have her kind of come back as a focus match for her.
I totally agree. I'm happy to see Tasha kind of come back and then just jump straight into getting her feet wet back into the knockouts division. Will, same question for you. This is your first time seeing Tasha Steeles in a singles match, and then of course we've seen Killer Kelly before. What did you think about this opening match?
I liked it. I thought it was a good match to open with. It's one of the good matches we get. Um, and I really enjoyed I really liked Tasha. I like Tasha in general. I really like her. I've never seen, like I said, I've never seen her as an individual fighter, but I really liked it. And of course, I love me some MK Ultra. They're awesome, and uh, it was one of those, even though I'm okay with like champions losing and things like this because I think it makes for better storytelling than if the champion wins all the time. Then it's sort of like, okay, well, that's kind of boring. But I liked it, and because we know that MK Ultra is gonna come back for something. I mean, it's like some scary bitches. So they're not gonna let this lay. Like so, and plus with the interference and all that, it's I thought it's really good. I really liked it, and and I love Killer Kelly's sort of. I like her style. I just love watching her fight. I just love it because you never know what's going to happen, and I love it. I love it like how it began when she got down on all fours and was all like. I was like,
she crawled over and licked Tasha's boot. I was like,
yes,
what is
she
this?
caught that boot and was like,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa! I was like, hold up,
God.
pause. I was like,
love that. So I love those gals, man. The MK Ultra, I just love their dynamic, and I just think it's so great. And when Deanna came, I wasn't surprised when she came out. Because at first I was sort of like, Tasha doesn't have anybody in her corner. What's that all about? I mean, we've seen it before, but I was thinking, and then there it was, and I was like, okay, they're just gonna like. It's like an ambush, and I was like, okay, I'm good with that. So I really liked this match a lot, and it got me excited for the evening. Sadly, I was let down, but that's okay. That's okay.
I mean,
but this match was great. I love this match.
Yeah, so this was definitely in my top 2 matches of the night.
Yep.
This was my number 2. Once I looked at everything, I was like, my number 1 comes later in the show, but we'll talk about it because it's not for the reasons that you think. After this opening match, I also love how angry / supportive Masha Slamovich is. She's upset that Killer Kelly lost, and then she goes to console her like in the ring afterwards. Killer Kelly looks devastated. She's like, "It's okay, it's okay." I love this dynamic for this team. We get a quick recap of the BTI match between Miss Jessica and Savannah Evans. So the pre-show before every week of Impact. So that was that. And then we immediately go backstage where we see John Schuyler of the Good Hands walking into the Shantaraj's dressing room. And again, he's just like, hey, Giselle. He's just like, hey, so Savannah, I wanted to congratulate you on your win on BTI. As you know, I need a partner for this tag team match against ABC. And I thought you are the first person that I wanted to come to. And I love how Giselle is just making faces while he's saying this in the background. And then she literally gets up. She's like, okay, I'm going to call you out on the bullshit. She's like, you've been begging every single person online to be your partner. And now you come over here to ask Savannah. I was like, so let's not even start with that. And then John Schuyler then proceeds. It's like, well, she's the first girl that I wanted to ask. And Savannah's like, excuse me, girl? I was like, oh, she's a grown ass woman. Beat it. I'm like, beat his ass. Savannah, beat his ass. And so Jay Vidal then steps in, being like gay bestie to both Savannah and Giselle. And then I just love how Giselle turns it around on him. It's like, you cost me my match last week. So guess what? You are going to team with John Schuyler tonight. And then the Shantaraj proceed to leave. And then John Schuyler is left with the closing of the segment. It should have been the girl. I would have preferred the girl.
No, it's not totally off.
John Schuyler is a piece of work, and I loved him this whole entire episode, surprisingly. I was just like, I love the good comedy in my wrestling, especially coming from comedic heel types of characters like the Good Hands are. And John Schuyler's like, I'm struggling here. I guess I'll take Jay. again, my MVP this whole entire night is going to be John Skyler, and I'm going to talk about him
He was
more
great. He
when we
was
get
great through the
to
whole
the
thing.
actual match because he made me laugh so much. But I mean, this basically we find out that it's going to be John Skyler and Jay Vidal versus ABC later in the fans' revenge match, which is an interesting concept. And we'll talk about it because I actually really enjoyed the corniness of it all. But yeah, so that I mean that backstage segment was a lot of fun, and we'll get more of John and Jay later. Okay, so let's talk about this one real quick. So Mackenzie is backstage. No, not Mackenzie. God, there's so many female commentators backstage. I love, by the way.
It's
But
Gia, isn't
yeah,
it?
Gia. Again, all the women are killing it across all of the brands in the backstage area. Surprisingly, it's all women. Like very few of the promotions have male correspondents, which I'm okay with. But Gia is interviewing Jonathan Gresham, and again, I love when heels are delusional. um, because Gia's just like, you're after your win against Mike Bailey. Some are calling you out, Jonathan Gresham, because you grabbed a whole thing of his tights. What do you have to say about all that? And Jonathan, again, being into solutions, is like, Gia, you're absolutely right. I'm tired of the ref and all these wrestlers cheating and getting away with it during the matches. And then literally, Speedball Mike Bailey walks in. He's just like, once again, I was like, that was you last week, homeboy. I was just like, me and you are trying to build up like legit wrestling in this company, and you do this to me. What do you have to say to yourself? And Jonathan Gresham just turns around and leaves. So I'm gonna go to you first, Andrew. Uh, Jonathan and Speedball Mike Bailey. We know that Speedball has a match against Will Ospreay at Bound for Glory. Do we see Jonathan and Speedball come to blows at some point?
Uh, you know, I wasn't sure how this was going to tie in with, the match coming up for Bailey. I figured maybe this might be some time killing to get until we get to there. But after this one, clearly seeing, Gresham, the walk away at the end was really what sold it for me. Because it's really coming across as the person that's so stuck in trying to find excuses for their behaviors that they'll just kind of just twist and turn everything that happens. So I'm really hoping that we get to see some more of this, and I kind of feel like it wouldn't be surprised if Gresham possibly either attacks Bailey beforehand, kind of setting him up for being kind of beaten up before he gets in, or even somehow gets involved, whether even if it's just a simple distraction, uh, to kind of set up Bailey for losing. Because I don't think Bailey's going to win whether Gresham's involved or not. But maybe they can use this kind of spotlight match to set up stuff to happen after that match between Bailey and Gresham and stuff going forward.
Right. Yeah, yeah. It's funny with this one because because I love how Gresham is playing the bad guy, and I love it because the walkaway was for me. It totally sold it for me. I was like, there you go. That's a bad guy, guys. That's a bad guy. He didn't have. It's like I'm not answering shit. It's like out he goes, and I kind of hope. I hope they don't. I hope they don't. I hope they don't solve this too quickly because I would like to see this continue even after Bound for Glory. I would like to see this build more, not better, but more, because because I love Gresham because he's so charismatic. That's what I like about him. He's so smooth and very you want to get in bed with him, literally, and and it's just he knows how to play the game, and I love that particular character knows how to play the game. And so I hope Impact doesn't rush to the end of this because this would be great. And I agree. I hope that he is involved somehow in Bound for Glory because that would be great. Because that would be a great moment to really kind of, oh you accuse me of cheating. Well, here, let me cheat. Let me really cheat. and screw you out of something. And I'd be there for it.
Yeah.
I would totally be there for it. Yeah, I love that. That whole sequence was very telling. So yeah.
The potential of Speedball versus Jonathan Gresham makes my little wrestling heart super excited. And I agree. I hope that with you, Will, I hope that Impact doesn't rush to get to the match and to the end of it, because this could be a very fun feud if they allow it to go on for a little bit. I'm just hoping that it does eventually, if whenever we get it, that it doesn't overstay its welcome, which we'll talk about another feud that I feel like has overstayed its welcome just a tiny bit.
You think?
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk. We're gonna talk about that because I love both of the individuals involved. I just hate how long this feud has been going on over nothing. But you know, we'll talk about it.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
No, do we have to talk about this next thing?
Yes, we have to, only because if Impact does this correctly, I will forgive like the last two grievances of what we have seen. But next we get this in-ring segment. Out comes your digital media champion, Tommy Dreamer, who we love here over at Table for Two Plus You. Listen, I like Tommy Dreamer. I just don't like him with this championship because he doesn't need it. But anyways,
he doesn't deserve it. He does not deserve this. This was given to him. He didn't win this. We're going to go way back. I'm going into history. He did not win this title. This title was given to him because they felt sorry for him, or something. I think it was they felt sorry for him is what it was. They're like, oh, we don't want this to be the end of your career. Let's give him a title. What? No. Give him a retirement party and give him a watch and let him walk on out of the building. I was like, and then we get more of this. This is what we get.
Okay, let's break this down real quick. So, and then we'll let you go like hammer time. So Tommy Dreamer comes out and he begins talking about, his career up to this point. And thankfully he doesn't spend too much time on it because then he calls out Crazy Steve. So I love Crazy Steve's new entrance. I'm just putting it out there. Like, it's great. It's fun. I love the mask. It is creepy as all hell, and this is great. Now, the next couple of minutes, and I was looking at my watch, I was like, damn, this is a long-ass segment. Tommy Dreamer then kind of goes into personal stories that him and Crazy Steve have known each other for a very long time, and that, Tommy Dreamer attempts to play on the personal history to all of this, which, to a certain extent, if only viewers, you could see the chat. But anyways, so he goes into the personal stories about him and Crazy Steve on the road. He talks about a story how, after Crazy Steve got diagnosed that he will be going blind eventually, which is very sad to hear. And so he's having a hard time seeing now, but eventually he'll go blind and it will like degenerate over time, which is really, really sad. And we learned that during, the 3-part interview we have with Crazy Steve. And then Tommy Dreamer continues to go on, like he taught him how to drive because he was too afraid to drive because, his eyesight. And then, they bring up the mom situation for both of them. And it was like, okay, Tommy Dreamer, this has gone on for too long. And then, Tommy then eventually ends this one-sided segment, mind you, because Crazy Steve didn't talk at all, by saying if you wanted a title shot, all you needed to ask me, friend, was, and then they proceeded to hug, which I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's kind of fine. And then all of a sudden, Tommy Dreamer starts writhing in pain, and then he slowly does the dramatic fall to the floor. I'm like, what the fuck happened? And then I see a shiny metallic object sticking out of his back. I was just like, not so much you, Tommy Dreamer, but thank God, Crazy Steve, you stabbed this man. I was just like, I'm here for a fork stabbing. And so eventually the referees come in to get Crazy Steve away from Tommy Dreamer. And then Crazy Steve, being Crazy Steve, begins to sing a little song how the angel of death is going to come for Tommy Dreamer. Knock on wood, because we don't want him to actually die. That'd be horrible. But Crazy Steve is being Crazy Steve, and that's how the segment ended. Okay. I'm going to give my quick thoughts. Tommy Dreamer talks way too much. This was way too long of a segment. I did not appreciate that Crazy Steve didn't get to talk at all. Like, this was really one-sided, but I am here for stabbing of the fork. Only because maybe it's now, I was like, please let it be Crazy Steve to take this title off of Dreamer and let Crazy Steve have it at Bound for Glory. I don't like the fact if Tommy Dreamer gets another pay-per-view match, but let this be Crazy Steve's like big hurrah. Let him take this title and run with it. But Andrew, I'm gonna start with you first because we're gonna save Will for last on this one. Andrew, what did we think about Tommy Dreamer's TED Talk plus Crazy Steve shanking him for all his lunch money?
There were parts of Dreamer's promo that I thought could be used well. Their history together, traveling on the road, like kind of being a mentor, all that kind of stuff. It all could have been done in way fewer words. But I feel like talking about some of that stuff could be used to build up the match for the championship, especially if they do what they should do and have Crazy Steve win, basically retire Tommy Dreamer because, he's put in through so much, hell to win that title. And let Steve make a run with it. Have some other people try to bring this crazy man down who's holding that title in that division kind of by the neck. But I think my biggest problem with it was Dreamer's promo was supposed to come off like, I'm going to talk about how connected we are and like all these things that are supposed to be important to you. But every time he kind of got to a point, it almost came across like he was telling me sad things about Crazy Steve, but he was somehow making himself the target of like the sadness. Like, it goes back to how, oh, well, you're suffering through this? Oh, someone I know suffered through that too. Oh, you have this thing? Well, I have this thing too. And it's been the way that Dreamer has run promos for the last few weeks. Really since before challenging for the title. It was, I was hoping something like that would happen when they hugged because I was under no illusion that Crazy Steve was buying any of that. And it would have been really sad if he had, because the character that he has built up to now, where he's at right now, everything he's gone through and now willing to do, would not buy into that. And I love that the fork is his thing, and he's just literally pulling it out everywhere. Give us, if Tommy Dreamer wants to go out on his shield, he wants to go out in the blaze of glory. If they're going to do it, let's just have it happen at Bound for Glory. Let it be for the title. Let Dreamer kind of go off with a bang and let Crazy Steve start down his crazy road.
I totally agree with you. Again, I don't like the prospect of Tommy Dreamer getting another pay-per-view match, to defend the title. But I'm willing to forgive it if this means that Crazy Steve gets to use the briefcase for that match, and then he gets to take the title off of Dreamer. And I think Crazy Steve, let's put the championship on Crazy Steve. I really want to see him with a few more title runs before, he retires, unfortunately, due to his degenerative eyesight. All right, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary people of the internet, gird your loins because Will is about to enter full-on maximum rage mode. Maybe. Who knows? It might not be as crazy, but Will, what did you think of this Tommy Dreamer Crazy Steve segment?
This is a perfect example of when you hear people say that meeting should have been an email. All of this was just that. It's like, give it to me in a video promo. I didn't need to see this out front. I didn't need to see this out in front for what was it, 7 hours he was sitting up there talking. And also, and I'm probably going to be the heel here on this, but I don't give a shit about your in real life crap. I don't care about it. Put it in a documentary. Get to the meat of what this is about. I'm like, Crazy Steve, if you want the damn title, challenge him for it and let's get it over with. I don't need to hear about, we had this wonderful thing. I'm like, oh my God. I can't handle it anymore. I can't sit through another Tommy Dreamer soap opera moment. I can't do it. I just can't. I literally was like, oh God, they're going to give him a microphone. And when, you're right. The best part of it was when he got stabbed in the back. Yeah, that was great because I was like, somebody shut him up. Thank God. And I think they're playing this out way too much. The whole boo-hoo stuff, I just think they're playing it I think it's done. So hopefully this is it. Because if they go to Bound for Glory and he wins that title again, what the hell are they doing? One, they're playing this poor man because he just can't physically do it anymore. Every time they have a match with this man, everybody has to hold back. It's getting pathetic and sad, and I'm starting to feel bad for him, and I'm starting to get pissed off at the Impact people. It's like, you're literally torturing this man. So stop. Just let it, literally, what he needs to do is he needs to have a come to Jesus meeting with Jesus. And he needs to be like, Lord, what do I need to do? And Jesus needs to be like, you need to retire. And the Lord saith, give that title to somebody else. Let him hand it off to Heath or whoever the hell and go, you know what, guys, I had a good run, but I think that this is what I need to do. Get out of the building, my man. It's time to let it go. Like, let it go, man. It's getting hard to watch the matches that he's in. The last match, it was hard. It was so difficult to watch that. And because it just felt wrong. And what I mean by that is it was like, one, everybody else had to hold back. Everybody was running at like 20% because if they ran at full percent, they would have hurt that man. Like in real life. not play, but in real. And then he would literally be going to the hospital. And so it's like, I'm just like, I appreciate the sentiment of giving, the old wrestler a title, let him win a title match. That's fantastic. But he should have, after he won the title originally, it literally should have been, hey, you know what? It's been fun. I love what I do, but it's time for me to leave the building. And now I'll be like, I'm going to hand this off to Heath or whoever and let them defend it for me. And, I'm going to go spend time with my grandkids or something. I don't know. Something other than what we're getting. I'm actually starting to feel like he's going to get hurt. Like, seriously hurt. Especially if he goes in a match with Crazy Steve. Even in the play world, Crazy Steve is crazy as fuck. So so that's my whole thing. Is I hope Crazy Steve, he doesn't fight Crazy Steve because Crazy Steve is going to have to pull back. And Crazy Steve doesn't work pulled back. Like, the concept of that doesn't work. He has to be full throttle. And I think if he was full throttle, then Dreamer is going to get hurt, like seriously injured. And maybe that's what they want. I don't know. They were like, oh, if we just like hurt him for real, he'll leave, and we don't have to do it. I don't know, but it's getting. Yeah, I'm starting to feel sorry for the man. And I'm actually starting to feel like he's in danger, and someone needs to call like Adult Protective Services because I think it's getting bad. And I hope to God that something happens before we get to Bound for Glory. And I really hope that he doesn't actually fight Crazy Steve because I don't think he would recover from that. I don't think he'd come back from it. I mean, he'd be in a coma. So that's it. I thought that, and I agree, it went on way too damn long. Yeah, you're right, I wasn't all that worried because Crazy Steve didn't say a whole lot because what he did say had a whole lot behind it, and plus he fork stabbings. So, but man, the minute Dreamer walked out, I was like, oh, here we go again. It's going to be sob story after sob story after sob story after. And I guess that's exactly what it was. Then it's all nostalgia. And I'm like, dude, you're a champion. You have a belt. Why are you acting like this? It's like either be the badass that the belt gives you that power to be, or give it up. I mean, you can't be whatever this is. I don't know what this is. I literally don't get excited for it. I get nothing. When he walks out, I'm like, oh God, here we go. And then I'm like timing it. It's like, can I fast forward? Luckily I can. So I kind of did, because I was like, oh God, I went back and watched the whole thing, but I was like, how long is this? I ran my cursor along the timestamp, and I was like, oh my sweet God, really? It's going to go that long? So then I watched the rest of it, but I was like, good Lord, stop this madness. That's all I can say about it. Stop the madness.
Look, I will say this again. And I can see your point, Will. I would love for this match to happen before Bound for Glory, because obviously we have a pretty solid card so far with all the matches that we have. And putting the Digital Media Championship with Tommy Dreamer on there may or may not be a good idea. Okay. So far, Bound for Glory, we have the only really gimmick match we have so far is the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, which is basically, to win a number one contenders match for either the World Championship or the Knockouts Championship, because both men and women fight in this at the same time, which is great. We love to see it.
Could the winner of this potentially challenge for the Digital Media Championship? Because isn't that an intergender title as well?
It is, because Jordynne Grace held the title. She was the inaugural Digital Media Championship. And I'm just going to say she had some tasteful pictures on her Twitter where she literally did what she did a Burt Reynolds. Like, she had the title's big enough where it covered all the important bits, but then she was just like, oh, look at this. I was just like, I'm not complaining. It was a thing. But see, whether it's on Bound for Glory or if it's on a regular episode of Impact, I'm still pulling for, if you storytelling wise, if you want to like loosely tell a story with this, I still think that Crazy Steve and Tommy Dreamer should have a Monsters Balls match where they're locked away in a dark room for 24 hours before the match with no food and water, and then they have this match, which at least in storytelling you could say, because both of them did not get no food or water for the last 24 hours and they were locked in a dark room by themselves with nothing but their inner thoughts, that it would explain, oh, everybody's not firing on full cylinders. That's the all. If I was a booker, I would book it that way, because then I was just like, at least you can then loosely use that story to explain how come both Crazy Steve has to pull back and Tommy Dreamer can't be going too wild with this. But again,
that's my problem though, is
mm-hmm.
I don't want Crazy Steve to have to pull back. That's the thing, and he's gonna have to, because there's no way that man can go full on and Tommy Dreamer come out of that ring alive or conscious.
I agree with you. I'm just trying to help Impact Wrestling, because they wrote themselves in a corner with this one.
Well, what needs to happen is someone needs to challenge Dreamer before Bound for Glory, take the title from him, then have Crazy Steve go, you know what? Now it's my turn, and then challenge at Bound for Glory. That's what they need to do.
That's another way to do it. But with 2 weeks to go, we'll see where this goes, and we'll see what happens. Okay, what we just talked about was baffling to me. Then we got this next match, and then I'm looking at the makeups of these teams. I was just like, this is the most unbalanced, random ass team. And I was kind of here for it just a tiny bit, but then it kind of broke down. I was like, oh, maybe this wasn't a good idea. Maybe it should have been instead of a 10-person tag, maybe it should have been maybe a maximum of 6 or even 8. Like 6 to 8 works, but 10 was a lot. So we got this 10-person tag match. And let me just run down this team. So normally when you have big team matches like this, you usually have all the faces and all the heels on one side. It would make sense. The makeup of these teams was ridiculous. So on team 1, you had Jake Something, Dirty Dango, Champagne Singh, Eric Young, and Jordan Grace. So I was like, okay, cool. Dango and Singh Arms is like, okay, like next week, I already know that it's not working for me. But Jake, Eric, and Jordan, I was like, this is a pretty good team just with those three, because those are like your top people right now. And then we look across to the other side of the ring, and I was like, oh, I see where this is going. Like, and that's unfortunate because I like some of the people on the other team, but the other team had Brian Myers, Shira, Kylan King, Jody Threat. I was like, Jody's a face. Why'd you put him with all the heels? Like, that makes no sense to me. And then you had Bully Ray randomly. I'm like, my mind was blown. I was just like, this match. And, this is the gimmick match. So the winning team would have another match next week. And we'll talk about it when we get to the bumpers, because they're going to determine who's number 1 and who's number 20 in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Okay. I want to preface by stating everybody did the best job that they could. I thought the first half of the match was pretty solid. My favorite moments include Jordan Grace, like, literally kicking Bully Ray's ass, which was really nice to see because they have that history. I also love I did not know I wanted to see Jody Threat versus Jordan Grace until they were both in the ring. I'm like, please give me those two, because that would be great. And Kylan King versus Jordan would be great too. Then the second half of the match happened, and then this is where all hell broke loose, but not in the great sense of the term. Like, I felt like too many people were doing too many things at once. It kind of got sloppy a little bit. Who was it that was it? I'm trying to figure out who got thrown over the top rope, and like, I thought they almost missed, like everybody catching them, and I got scared. Like, it was weird. Like, Dirty. Okay, I think it was Dango that Jake. Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, Jake threw. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about that part real quick. So literally, Jake is on a tear, and then he stops for like 5 seconds, and then all of a sudden, like, goes after Dango, and then throws Shira off of the top. Not Shira. Champagne Singh off the top rope. But it was so choreographed weirdly. Like, I don't know if you two caught it, but I was just like, there was just a brief pause, like somebody forgot to do something, and then they went into the thing. I was like, it was like 5 seconds too long of a pause, and then the ending happened. I was like, it was just a mess. And then, literally, I wanted more aggression from Jake in the sense because, like, he threw Eric, he threw Jordan, but there wasn't intensity behind it. I was just like, oh, I wanted him to go full barbarian rage, and then afterwards be like, oh, sorry guys, I didn't mean to throw you. Because that's essentially what happened, but you didn't make me believe it, Jake, because you were too docile when you were going crazy. I mean, Jake, Dirty Dango, Champagne Singh, Eric Young, and Jordan Grace, their team wins this match. So those 5 will go on to have a match next week to see who ends up being number 1 and number 20 for the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. This was a chaotic mess, but Will, I'll come to you first. Listen, we loved a couple of people in this match. Like, some of our favorites are in here, but what did you think of this 10-person tag?
I think these 10 men these are stupid because you're right, they get too chaotic. You lose track of things, and the beginning was okay, but they always are. That's the thing about these big matches is they're always okay at the beginning because they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it like normal, and then it always at the second half gets chaotic because then everybody wants to get involved. And I think that I agree also that I think it got a little bit out of hand. I really because when that the over the ropes, I was like that could have killed somebody. I mean, someone could have been seriously injured because it that was whatever happened right there was I don't think was supposed to happen. And there was several moments in that right towards the end where I was kind of fearing for people's safety. It's like, and it's because there's so many people involved that there's just too much chaos going on, and you as coming from an acting background, theater background, when you deal with like combat, everything has to be choreographed right. And then when you get so many people in a small space trying to do multiple combat techniques with different energy levels, you can get thrown off. And suddenly you're like, especially if you get caught up in it, because with all that chaos, that energy is so high, you get caught in that, and you could seriously hurt somebody. And I mean, we kind of saw that happen in a couple of other matches previously, where people actually got injured when they shouldn't have. So this, I agree. I think this should have been like maybe a six type thing because it was. I mean, just listing all the people involved, I got lost. I was like, who's in this again? Can you repeat that for me one more time? Slow down. And I don't know. It was okay. The match was okay. It wasn't like anything. I don't think it was anything spectacular.
Yeah,
There were some great moments. I mean, some of the individuals had some great moments, but I thought overall.
looking at this list of 10 people, if we were going to, I agree with you. I think you slim it down to six. And if I were going to do six, honestly, and I hate to say it, I would pick like the three biggest names on each team to go at it. So, like, if we were going to, for me personally, if we were going to slim this down to six, I would pick Jake, Eric Young, and Jordan Grace. And on the other side, I would take Bully Ray, Jody Threat, and Kylan King, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I would have those three, you know? I'm gonna be honest. People will be like, but Jordan's the only girl on the other side. Jordan has the power of 10 women. Like, let's be all the way 100. So I'm like, I'm not worried about her. Jody and Kylan should be worried because Jordan Grace has the power, the strength, and the training of multiple women in one little body of hers. Plus, her husband is Jonathan Gresham. I'm like, look at them. Look at them. Like, I'm not worried about it.
I mean, Jordan Grace, I mean, she's like literally, even if you look
she
at
will
Jake
fight any woman and man, and that's so much fun. And she has fought a bunch of men before, and it's great.
Yeah.
Her and Zack Ryder had such a great match. Like for the Digital Media Championship, it was ridiculous. But Andrew, what did we think of this chaotic match?
Yeah, I thought there were quite a few parts of it that were sloppy and slow. I think looking back at the roster who was in this match, I think one of the big things that they suffered from was it seems like what they tried to do was put together random teams so then that way there was no side that was like, obviously these people are all going to work together because they're all mismatched. But we didn't have any lead up into that, so there was nothing that really told us much of that other than they're like, hey, these 10 people are going to fight each other. But because of that, you didn't really have any people who were used to working together because you had people who would work together on opposite sides of the teams. And so, at least in other, multi-person tag matches, whether it's, 8 men with 4 tag teams or, a couple tag teams with an individual wrestler put together in a 6-man tag or something along those lines, you've got people who are used to working with each other, working as part of a team. So they know that pacing, they know how to do those things, and so they can kind of help balance for everyone else. But in this, you just had a bunch of people who were extremely used to either working on their own or working with people that weren't in this match. I mean, you had one of the Knockouts champions in there, women's tag team champions in there, and not her partner
Yeah.
or former tag team champions, I guess, the Coven. And so it was just kind of disjointed. There were parts that were kind of clearly people were missing something or miscommunication. I did enjoy the fact that they went intergender in this. I think we need to have more of that in professional wrestling, especially, I hate to use the term but or phrase, but this day and age. Um, because I always compare it to in comic books and that kind of stuff. When you have people with superpowers, you have a Wonder Woman. She's decimating, most of the male characters. So that disparage between, what a big strong guy can do versus a woman and all that stuff. It's very similar in professional wrestling because we have people like Jordan Grace who could tear limbs off of luchadors. Like, we have Kylan King. She's like 6 foot or something, isn't she? She is not a slouch either. So you've got plenty of these women who have the athleticism, the skills to perform just like the men do, and we can create interesting stories that way. And so I was happy that they went with that. Um, because I just want to see good wrestlers wrestle each other. And that's one of the reasons I really like the idea of the digital media title. I wish one of the trios titles from AEW or Ring of Honor would actually have intergender rules. I know the Ring of Honor one is the 6-man tag team title, but I've always liked when they have like trios titles or even tag team titles where it's just a team of people, team of good wrestlers who can do good tag team together and go against other good tag teams. So I think that was probably my favorite part of it. I do have to say I expected Jake something when he got tagged in that he was just going to destroy everyone that just got in his way, and it did feel like it was a little muted compared to what I was expecting when he came in. Um, I do have my thoughts on who's going to be winning and who's going to be losing. Uh, the match next week, I have a feeling it's probably going to be one of 3 of the winning team that's going to win, and probably one of the 2 others that's probably going to lose, unless they decide to go on a big swerve and have someone like Jake something get pinned, go in number 1, and make like some crazy long run in the gauntlet. But yeah, it was trying to do too much in too little of space and time that I think could have been done a little bit better. But I think most of the people in there did as well as they could have done with the situation that they were given.
Agreed. I'm ex- I'm still excited to see the 5 people fight each other next week. Um, but again, this was just a little chaotic, and the second half of the match was kind of messy, and I got worried for a little bit. Okay, so these next 3 things, I'm gonna kind of sandwich them together because this was a long, like, promo video package, another promo vignette before we get to our next match. So we start with Gia interviewing Josh Alexander backstage. Basically, this interview sets up that Josh is going to be facing Khan in the main event tonight for Impact this week. And, it might be a dumb idea to have these like hard hitting matches before his match against Alex Shelley at Bound for Glory. And as soon as the name is mentioned, Alex Shelley pops in and be like, hey, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to be on commentary because I want to make sure that you are 100% ready for the match at Bound for Glory. And then immediately, in my head, I was just like, "Oh, he's definitely going to hit Josh with something at the end of the match. This is how it normally goes." So, okay, that's fine. After this, we get a video package that basically, listen, I love Mickey James, I really, really do, and I actually did not mind this video package because it started off like her having to relinquish the title before Rebellion earlier this year, which gave us Jordan versus Deanna, in which Deanna won the title and ran with it for a little bit. Also, side note, Deanna and Jordan can never have any bad matches in my eyes. So it's great. But essentially, what it is it's just, from there to Mickey returning to getting this title opportunity, it's basically building Mickey up. And then it perfectly leads into another backstage interview with our girl Trinity, your Knockouts champion. Trinity does, and I love this because she and Mickey have worked together before in WWE, so they have history together still. But Trinity is excited to fight Mickey, but now it's different because she knows that Mickey's gonna give it everything she has, but Trinity's gonna give it back tenfold. And she's ready for Mickey, and I was like, yes, I am so pumped for this match. I am so excited. Mickey's great. Trinity continues to prove why she's our girl. I love this. Um, so okay. I mentioned this earlier. The Tasha Steele's Killer Kelly match was like my number two. This next match is my number one just because of the sheer hilarity and tomfoolery. But this is the perfect way to use shenanigans in the match, in my opinion. And John Schuyler is my MVP in this match. So we get this fan revenge tag team match, which essentially there are fans of Impact Wrestling. I'm loosely putting that in air quotes because I feel like some of them maybe were, some might be local wrestlers as well. But they each have a leather strap, and they were instructed that anytime a wrestler has their feet on the ground, they're supposed to whip them like a Mexican grandma does with the chancla. But instead, it's a leather strap. And immediately, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, I already know how this is going to go. And sure enough, throughout this whole match, Jay Vidal and John Schuyler were getting the brakes beat off them by the leather straps. And then anytime that Chris Bay or Ace Austin got to the floor, like when Chris Bay was on the floor, it was like my favorite part. He was worried he was going to get hit. Then somebody dabbed him up. And then he took a selfie with somebody. And then he was celebrating with people in the ring. But again, Skyler was my MVP with this. Like the overselling when he got hit at one point, he took the strap and was like ready to hit somebody, and then they all dogpiled on him to hit him. My favorite moment of this match is I think it's the second or third time John Schuyler gets thrown out and hit with the straps. He comes in and he like literally like, take me back, baby. I'm sorry I cheated on you. Like crawled to Jay Vidal and hugged him in the corner.
Yeah.
And then Jay Vidal is just like, there, it's gonna be okay. And then he gets back up and then aggressively tags Jay and it's like, I'm tired of this shit. You can get hit now. I knew ABC was going to take the victory here because, I mean, come on, it's ABC. You can't have them lose to this makeshift tag team. But Jay Vidal also was great in this match too. Like this match had no right to be as fun as it was, and it was hilarious. And John Schuyler sold it for me with Jay Vidal. And ABC, like, what I loved is that ABC is a more serious tag team, but I love how into it they were into this match too, because they added an extra dimension of fun to this that made me as an audience member enjoy it. Andrew, what did you think of this fans revenge match and John Schuyler's overacting?
Yeah, the leather lumberjack match was it was something. It was very funny. I liked that throughout the match you could hear the fans cracking those straps every once in a while, gave a nice little ambiance to it. I have to say, Vidal and Skyler were just they were definitely the highlights. I did not know what to expect when they were going to get tagged together. Being another kind of thrown together tag team, but the two of them are just they go into it, and they're just interactions with each other were super entertaining. Um, and I think something that gets overlooked too is how well they perform in the ring too while doing some of that comedic stuff, because when they got to wrestle, it was a lot of fun there too. Even all the way through the finish, I think everything was pretty clean and pretty well done. And I liked some of the aspects, like at one point Vidal was hanging over the top rope, hanging on by one hand, and they came in to whip him and he was like, no, 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 2 feet on the ground, 2 feet on the ground. And the ref came over, and then of course his hand gets kicked off, so he falls off the rope, and then he ends up down there and gets beat up. But I like how they played into those kind of aspects of kind of the rule set for it. Um, yeah, it was great. Just that visceral sound of those leather straps hitting people is just such a, you can just feel it through the screen. It just sold everything, and yeah, it was fun. I think of all the ways that they're keeping people busy before Bound for Glory, this was probably one of the most successful ones for me.
I loved it. I think this is great. Will, what are your thoughts on this match?
I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good sort of palate cleanser. I thought it was good at the beginning. I was like, this is going to go one of two ways. Either Jay and Skylar are going to come out there and be like the most amazing tag team ever, and like literally everyone go like, "What the fuck just happened?" Or it was going to turn out like it did, and either way, I would have been totally stoked with it because I think it would have been a great one if they had literally come out and everyone's just like, "Oh, this is a big joke," and then they ended up being like this amazing tag team. I would have been like, "That's brilliant." But I did love the fact that they basically played the fops to ABC, and it was ridiculous and silly, and so I was totally entertained by it. It was truly an entertaining match. I mean, it was, you know, it wasn't one of those like, oh, okay, yeah, that was cute. No, it was entertaining. I truly was watching all of it. I was like looking, going, oh, what is everybody doing? What's going to happen next? What's, you know, who's going to get hit next? Who's going to get slapped with some leather? I was like, who's? It's like, so it was a lot of fun. I was, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised because I wasn't really quite sure what was going to happen here. And like I was literally, when we went in, I was like, hey, this is going to end one of two ways. Either with, it's going to come out with the most amazing tag team they've ever seen, or like literally like a Three Stooges episode. and which was great. Either, like I said, either one of those would have been fantastic, you know. But I really did. It was really fun. It was just fun. It was fun to watch. You're right. When Jay and Skylar actually got to wrestle, they were pretty good. I was kind of impressed. And you know, and of course, you know, I knew that I mean, I knew ABC was going to take it, but it really was just fun to watch, you know. And the great thing about it, and again, this is, you know, Skylar's whole thing, trying to find a partner and then this partner being thrust upon him. And I thought this was a really great sort of way to end that story, you know, and, you know, even though they lost the match, but it was super fun to watch. It really was. It was just a blast. I truly enjoyed it. So yeah, it was a good match. All right. It was a good bit of entertainment.
It was, and I agree with you both. Like, this was a nice palate cleanser, and this was a lot of fun. And boy, howdy, dude, that got knocked out. Did not get knocked down a peg for next one. So we get this recap. So remember how I hinted earlier we were gonna talk about like a feud that overstayed its welcome? Well, we finally arrived to this. So we get a recap of the whole entire Frankie Kazarian versus Eddie Edwards, like not even a feud. It's like it's like a overstayed saga. So literally this has been going on for months. And I thought we were done at the I initially thought we were done at Slammiversary, and then we got that mixed tag match between Frankie and Tracy versus Alicia and Eddie. And then I was like, okay, we're done with that one. No, then it continued, and then I was like, huh. So we literally get a recap of everything that has transpired through the last 5 months. This feud overstayed its welcome. But I swear to God, Impact, you say that we're about to enter the ending next week with the match that we're getting between these two. I swear to God, if this is not the end of the feud, I am going to scream at my television.
You know what, though? They have set this up like a Hatfields versus McCoy's. It'll never end.
But it needs to end.
I agree with you. I totally agree. I'm like literally like, please just stop. I'm so sick and tired of this. I'm just like, But it truly, because of the way they've set it up, it is truly a Hatfields and McCoys. It's not going to stop. It will never end. It will weasel its way back in here, there, and everywhere. Because it'll be very much a, Frankie going, "I'm done," and then Eddie going, "No, you're not," and brings him right back in. That's just how it's going to be. It's never, Frankie's ready to stop it. He's like, "I'm ready for this to be over with." Eddie won't let it go. And neither will his freaking wife, Alicia. She won't let it go either. So it's literally like it will keep going until they disappear. It's like truly.
The only good thing that came out of this is that I knew Alicia wasn't going to win against Trinity at Victory Road, but that promo made me care about that match more than it should have. When Eddie slammed Trinity through the table, I was like, mixed gender violence. I'm kind of here for it. And then Trinity got hers when she slammed Eddie through the table at Victory Road, which was really fun to watch.
Yep.
But I'm tired of this feud. I'm hoping it's over next week in this 2 out of 3 falls match.
I honestly, my only note for this match was don't care. I literally do not care. I don't care about all the things they're trying to sell us in the promo about why we should care. One of the things that stood out to me was we just came off a match that was an intergender match. And one of the things that they show in this promo is Frankie accidentally hitting Alicia with the kendo stick while she's in the ring. And they make it seem like he hit her with a car at full speed.
Need to remind you, Bully Ray actually ran over somebody with the car.
Yeah. But it's it's this old trope of oh my goodness, you accidentally hit my valet and now I'm super mad because how dare you, she's so delicate and fragile. Meanwhile, this lady's in there wrestling matches, doing all this stuff on her own, getting involved, doing everything. No, she's as much involved with it as they all are, but we're trying to sell this thing.
Need I remind you that Alicia faced off against Su Yung of all people years ago at Impact? That Su Yung is no joke. And I was like, where is that Alicia? I miss her.
Why does she let him talk to her like that? I don't understand that. Why doesn't she beat his ass? Why hasn't Alicia turned on Eddie and beat his ass and said, "Shut up until I tell you to speak"?
I tell you, this match next week is going to lead into a match at Bound for Glory.
It is.
Yeah, I don't want it to either. This match, we could have minus the last few weeks, and I'd have been happy with it.
It should have ended at Slammiversary, if not the Impact 1000th episode. I thought that mixed tag was going to be the end of it, but no.
This whole thing for Impact is like my Breaker Corbin bullshit over NXT. I don't care. I don't give a shit about you guys. You've literally made it where I don't care about either of you. It's there's no reason for me to. Because honestly, I don't really know why you're fighting anymore. Is it just because? Because I can't get behind that. I can't. But I agree with you. I think this is going to lead into a Bound for Glory match. I do.
Man.
Hatfields and McCoys. It'll never end. And literally, it'll never end until one of them leaves.
See, and this is what bothers me, because I feel like we've been spinning our wheels with these two. Frankie has had nothing to do since, last year, towards the end of last year, when he cashed in the X Division Championship to get a title shot, and he lost that match, and he's been spinning his wheels ever since. And then poor Eddie over here has had nothing to do in terms of after Ano No More dissolved, because everybody went back to either Ring of Honor or AEW. That was a whole thing. But yeah, now you got me thinking there is going to be a match at Bound for Glory with some sort of iteration, all this, and it makes me sad.
There's going to be something. Because this is Hatfields and McCoys. I'm going to say it over and over again. This is a feud that will never end, literally until one of them leaves.
And I feel like it's such a waste of two guys who actually are very phenomenal wrestlers.
It is.
I love,
and they got
I like Frankie and Eddie. I know Impact brought them in a quarter.
they thought this was going to be we're going to do this sort of like feels like a family feud, like one can't live up for the father's expectations, so they're going to try this, that, and the other, and then it literally turned in. But see, because what happened is when they brought the wife into it. Once they brought her into it, this became a literal family feud. This was like Hatfields, McCoys. They're going to be shooting at each other all the time. They're not going to stop until somebody is like out. That's it. And I hate it. I hate it because it's like it's literally they're stuck in a forever cycle.
Like I said, I feel like we're wasting Frankie and Eddie's potential. And that trend continues because I feel like we're wasting two top guy, potentials in what seems to be building up this feud. So really quickly, basically Moose beats Bhupinder Gujjar. Like, that's not what we're here to talk about. After the match, Steve Maclin comes in and he basically is complaining to Moose how that's his briefcase and he's going to take it out from him. So I'll get to everybody's thoughts on this. My initial thoughts is at this point of this promo, I was just like, this is how we're using Moose and Maclin. This is what we're doing now. We're fighting over a briefcase. I mean, granted that there's a world title shot in it, but Moose won that thing. Ugh, this is just giving me PTSD of when Otis won the Money in the Bank briefcase and then Miz won it in a match to take it off him, which was stupid. But, that's just me. And then PCO just randomly appears and clears the ring. And then the cool thing, though, is that Rhino literally gored Smacklin on the ramp, which is the only good part of this. Why are we using Moose and Maclin this way? I feel both of them are former champions. Like, not even a year ago, both of them held that title, and now they're fighting over a fucking briefcase. Like, Impact, listen, I love you, but this is a waste of everybody's time. Like, this is a waste of Maclin and Moose's talent. Like, why are we fighting over briefcases? Makes no sense. I can't. I can't.
Yeah, it was. I watching the match to begin with. Like, my question was why. Like, I mean, obviously it was going to be a squash, but there was even a point in the first like half of this match, which wasn't a very long match to begin with, that there were times that Moose actually looked like bored or irritated, and not in the like character way, but literally in the like, all right, we're gonna do this. Okay, now I'm gonna do okay, and now it's time for the finish, kind of a thing. And it like there was just so little energy into it that it just felt pointless. And then as soon as the match was over and Maclin came out, I was like, oh, okay, this is what the match was for. We didn't actually need to have a match. They were just wanted to set this up. And I mean, after it was all said and done, like there were so many random parts to it because obviously there's the thing with Rhino and Maclin. And now they're trying to make something with Maclin and Moose, and then Brian Myers is there because he's with Moose. Then PCO shows up because of the stuff that happened with Bully Ray and Maclin and the scumbags or whatever they were, the wrestling gods, whatever they're calling themselves. But at the end of it, it was just kind of what are we doing here? Like, what is this building to? I thought we were doing something with Maclin and Rhino. Now Macklin's off wanting to start stuff with Moose, but Moose has a world title shot. So what is he doing with all this? Like, it's just, what are we doing with all of these people involved in this? Whatever it was, I can't even call it a feud. So it just felt so weird and so out of place, and there were a few of those with this card for Impact, but this one had so many people in it that I have no idea what direction they're even thinking about going, and I don't think they do either. That it just felt really weird and unnecessary, and it almost felt like it was like, all right, we're gonna have you all go out there at different times. We're not gonna tell you when or what you're gonna do when you go out there, and then everyone just got a chance to show up and like, now this person's here, now this person's here, now don't forget about this person. I don't know. I hope that I hope that we can get past whatever this is. Let Macklin and Moose have their own runs towards the title. Um, you know, I don't know how much PCO is fine for what he does. He's kind of in a Sting position where he just gets to be kind of a monster, kind of a get in and do
Mm-hmm.
some things, and it gets a little pop. But yeah, it felt super weird.
Well,
I don't say it very often, but this was stupid. It was dumb. Because I mean, it's a complete and it was a complete and utter waste of time and talent. Because it's like Moose has got something going on, and it's like he's got this briefcase, he's got this thing that he's got it. So stop. First of all, this match, and I felt bad for the other guy, and this match was just ridiculously dumb. It was like, why is this match happening? Because even when Macklin comes in and everyone's like, "Oh, I see," I'm just like, why did that match happen? That match didn't need to happen. This could have been a whole backstage thing. He could have been. You should have had Moose in an interview and have Macklin come in and be all like, blah 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 blah, and then you could have PCO break through a damn wall and take him out or something. I don't know, but it didn't have to be in the ring. And I was just like, and Macklin, and I've talked about Macklin before. I don't know what the fuck they want him to be. What is he? Who is he? Are they setting him up to be like the ultimate bad guy, where he just wants to fight everybody? Because if so, I could get behind that. But I don't know. Because one minute he's all, yeah, let's destroy this, that, and the other. Then the next minute he's all, boo hoo me. Then he's all like, oh, well, look, you've gone soft. And then it's like, and then you get run away by mice. What the hell, dude? What's going on? I don't know what he's supposed to be. And this match didn't give me any answers. Or the whole thing didn't give me any answers. It's like I don't understand what this was. And this has been a problem with Macklin since like him and Josh Alexander and then the whole PCO Bully Ray, all that, and he's suddenly like he's like wandering aimless, and I'm like, what are they doing to this dude? Because he's another one I'm starting to feel bad for. It's like what is happening with you? Then you go out there and you're all like, that case was mine. I want it fair and square, and I'm like, dude, no, you didn't. You lost the case, and I'm just like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. I didn't understand this whole thing. I didn't. And you're right. And then all of a sudden, here comes PCO. Why? I mean, just so you could create some drama? Is that? I mean,
look, listen. I know Macklin and PCO have history because they fought for the title at Under Siege back in May. Which, by the way, that match ruled between those two, and I was surprised. Steve Macklin got cut the freak up. I will never see cookie sheets the same way again after that match. But Macklin was listen. Some wrestlers bleed. Nah, he was bleeding. Bleed. He bled. It was great, but yeah, there's just a mixed match of people in this that I don't get. And again, I reiterate the point that Moose and Macklin have they're former champions and we're fighting over a briefcase. Like Impact, I love you, but we need to get away from this. Like we need to figure out something for them to do that's not this.
they need to get away from it fast, like quickly,
It's
because it's getting long in the tooth.
I don't know, man. So I want to move on because now I'm sad. I'm sad. um Well, this next segment actually made me kind of happy, only for the sense that, again, the Rascals are little shits, and I love them. So we see them backstage. Also, I kind of want their hockey jersey, Impact Wrestling. If you're selling those, I want one of them. Like now,
Yeah, those were really cool. Actually, you're right.
I was like, normally I don't like lime green like that, but I'm like, you know what? I can kind of dig that, and I liked it. But Essentially, Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, they spray paint the titles. I was like, that's disrespectful. And I love it. Again, because it's giving me like old school, WCW, WWE days when, titles got spray painted on. It's great. So Santino Morella comes in, is yelling at them for spray painting the titles, and then ABC walks in and it's just like, yo, Santino, Rascals, I hope you like those titles, Rascals, because you ain't gonna have them for long. And we literally get confirmation that for sure ABC has locked in their championship match using the briefcase at Bound for Glory. I was like, that's a smart way to use a briefcase. That's what I need people to start using here. But then Sammy Callahan and Rich Swann come in and they make their case of why they should be the ones to go up against the Rascals. So Santino makes a match for next week, which we'll talk about in a little bit, where ABC, no matter what happens next week, will be facing for the titles, but the team that they will be facing will be the winners of next week's match, which, spoiler alert, I mean, come on. We know the Rascals are retaining.
Rascals are going to win.
Yeah. It should be a good match nonetheless, but that's a setup for next week. And then we get into this video package where Chris Sabin is hyping himself up, getting ready to face Kenta. And I'm fucking excited. Like Kenta, I need Chris Sabin and Kenta to kick the shit out of each other. That's what I want.
Kenta needs to win that.
I would listen. I love Chris, but Kenta would be an amazing X Division champ. Him versus Kushida, I'm like, give it to me now. Like, shoot, Kenta versus anybody at this point. Like, I don't care. Take your pick. Kushida, Kevin Knight. If you wanted to throw, any of the luchadors at him, cause that would be great. But I would love Kenta to win because that'd be really, really fun. And I'm like, Kenta can have a run with the X Division Championship. He's not doing anything he's not really doing much since he lost the title to Eddie Kingston, the New Japan Strong title. So, but I'm excited for this match. And I mean, Impact Wrestling, I love you, but you kind of do a poor job. Like, this is where they officially announced, be like, it's going to be for the X Division Championship. I'm like, we got the placard last week on social media that it was for. I was like, somebody's getting fired. But then we start to head into the home stretch because after this, we do get the bumpers, which tells us what to expect next week. So next week, it's going to be the Rascals defending their titles against Rich Swann and Sammy Callahan. I think this should be a fun match. If I am correct, I think this is probably Sammy's last match since his contract is up and he's now a free agent. So we'll see where he ends up. We also get this weird fatal 5-way match for the number 1 and the number 20 spot in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet of Bound for Glory. So it's going to be Jake Something, Dirty Dango, Jordan Grace, Champagne Singh, and Eric Young colliding in this match to determine those spots. And then, see, I should be excited about this, but just because it's overstated, it's welcome. Hopefully this is the final chapter. Eddie Edwards versus Frankie Kazarian in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And I'm like, listen, we got an insane 2 out of 3 falls Wrestle Dream between Christian Cage and Darby. I'm like, this better be, I need to see tables. I need to see chairs. But I'm like, I'm not excited. I'm not. And it makes me sad because I should be, because these two are great wrestlers. It's just the story is so bad. Like, it makes me not care about this. And it makes me sad. And this is also where, again, we got the placard literally earlier this week, but on the show, it is announced that because Tasha pinned Killer Kelly, it's going to be MK Ultra defending their titles against Tasha and Deonna. That match is going to slap. It's going to be good, so I'm not necessarily mad about it. And then we get to our main event, Josh Alexander taking on Khan of the Design with Diener at ringside. Listen, Josh Alexander can make anyone look great. Like, literally. Josh is that dude. I actually like this match a lot more than I thought I was going to, because normally I was like, oh, we know Josh is going to win. And I like Khan as a person outside the ring, but I'm like, he's just your stereotypical, like, big guy. But this was actually more surprising. I actually like this match a lot better than I thought it was. I also appreciated that Alex Shelley on commentary. I was just like, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be either. And then, of course, Alex get involved in the match when he takes the chair away from Diener, who's trying to hit Josh with it. And then ultimately, Josh ends up winning. And Alex Shelley saving him puts him in a false sense of security because then after the match happens, Alex Shelley delivers the shell shock to Josh Alexander and has him lying on the floor as Impact goes off the air. I was just like, see, if you had done this to begin with, Alex Shelley, I wouldn't have criticized you so hard for going full heel like 2.5 weeks ago. Like, if this is what set off these chain events, I think I would. At this point, I literally wrote in my notes, I was just like, they did this feud building in reverse. Like, they Alex Shelley came out the gate a heel, and then I was like, but why though? There's nothing you really did. And then this happened. I'm like, this should have been the first inciting incident. Like, this is what he should have done at Emergence after they lost their match. Alex Shelley getting upset, and then him like throwing Josh Alexander and doing that to him. I was like, then I could have been okay with how the rest of this feud has gone, but I feel like we've gone in reverse. Again, the main event was there to just give Josh a win because, we're trying to keep him and Alex Shelley away from each other until Bound for Glory in 2 weeks. But, Will, I'm going to go to you first. What did you think of the main event and Alex Shelley being a punk and hitting Josh at the end?
Well, this match was okay. I don't think it was necessarily one of Josh's strongest matches because here's another thing, because I think this was such a throwaway match. I think what's so funny is I think a lot of these that we're going to see in the next week are going to be kind of throwaways, sort of like I was saying earlier about taking out the trash. And so this one was, it wasn't horrible. It just was like, oh, okay. I wasn't excited about it. I mean, there was nothing really in it that got my juices flowing, other than Josh because he's fine. But I mean, I was like, okay. I was like, that was an odd main event. I was like, okay. And then this whole Shelley thing. This is another thing I don't get. Impact, you need to do better because I don't understand why he's become a bad guy. And I've been trying to look. I've like Google searched, guys. I have gone deep into rabbit holes, into things that no one should look at, and trying to find why the hell he switched sides like this. And I can't find anything. So I'm just like, I don't understand how you or why you became a bad guy. And you're right. I mean, this could have been a great inciting event earlier on, but I don't understand. And again, this is me as a theater person. I don't care about Shelley because I don't understand what he wants. I don't understand who he is. I don't understand why he is. So I'm literally like, I don't care about you. I mean, I hope Josh destroys you, but I don't care. I mean, if he was fighting a matchstick, I'd be like, hell yeah. You're not. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. And this was a great moment. Don't get me wrong. I mean, when he hit him at the end, I was like, that was great. Where the hell was that like weeks and months ago?
Okay.
That's where.
That's my thing too. And I just had a light bulb moment because I was like, wait a minute, why have I seen this story being told somewhere before? And then I remembered. While most of it was different, we literally had this story like during the summer because this was Shelley versus Nick Aldis when Nick was literally in the company because it's the same thing. And that was done better, except Alex was in Josh's shoes where, in this current feud, and Nick Aldis was in Alex Shelley's like random heel turn, except that heel turn worked. I'm literally getting vibes from that. I'm like, oh my God, why have I seen this before? And I'm like, we're using the same story beats for this. And I was like, oh my God, Impact, what did you do? Ah, man. Now that I've had that light bulb boom, and now it makes me even sadder because I like Alex Shelley. My issue with it is just how we built this feud. But then also, too, I was like, I know Chris Sabin's busy right now because he's gonna preparing to get his head knocked in by Kenta. But we have yet to have Chris Sabin address anything that has gone down with his friend, because Chris Sabin is still a full face at this point. And I'm like, y'all are besties. Like, how have we not had this talk yet? Andrew, you had something to say?
It would be, I would give them so many points back if Sabin loses his X Division title at Bound for Glory, and Alex Shelley loses the world title, and basically it pushes them both over the edge, and Sabin kind of joins, or Sabin, joins along with Shelley, and we get to see a good heel run of the Motor City Machine Guns, just doing whatever they got to do and whatever they can get away with to just go through every other tag team. I would be okay with that if that's where it led to eventually. Good.
No, I was gonna. I was like, yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it would be really cool to see that happen. But I would find it hard to believe that Chris Sabin would do that, like that quickly. Like he would do such a turn so fast. I mean, even if he did lose, and blah 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 blah. But I mean, because and I think that's my whole thing with the Shelley thing is that the turn was so quick, and there was no true reason for it. It was literally just he woke up on Monday morning and decided he was going to be a bad guy. But I would love to see that. I would love to see the two of them do a heel turn. But I just don't think I could believe Chris Sabin doing that. Especially not so quickly, unless something really bad happened, like really bad, like everybody turned on him or something, and he's like, "Fine, you want to see what a bad guy looks like? I'll give you a bad guy." And then I'd be like, "Yes, I could get behind that." Not just, "Oh, my friend over there is bad, so I'm going to join him." And it's like, okay. It's like, because I would love to see that. I would love to see the two of them become like bad guys.
Yeah.
And their whole persona, their whole look changes and gets all dark and leathery chains and stuff. I'd be all about that. But no, I agree with you. I think it would be great to see that turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Alexander's gonna win the match at Bound for Glory. The only way that I think Shelley is winning is if he goes full heel and gets like a heel win somehow along the lines. But I feel like we are building up to Alexander, being the hero and defeating the bad guy, as it were. For this match specifically, I think it was there were some slow spots. In the beginning when Alexander first went for an ankle lock, it seemed really clunky. And then the ending of the match, right after the whole mix up with the chair getting taken away and then Alexander accidentally hitting Shelley, all the way through the finish of the match, kind of got slow again. And then we kind of jumped into the Shelley moment. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting that we had this random match going on, and in the commentary, Shelley even talks about the fact of if you're going to wrestle for the title in 2 weeks, why would you do, or 3 weeks at this point, why would you have another match, especially a match that isn't for any reason? So I feel like if you're going to do it, like let's at least have some reasons for it. Otherwise, just build them up like you've been building up a lot of the other matches for Bound for Glory. Um, I think it's obvious that Kenta is not available to be at Impacts at this point, which is why we're getting all these video packages. So maybe they're needing to use people like Alexander and Shelley and build up, that kind of stuff. But as far as main events go, I think especially with Alexander, it could have been a lot better. It wasn't horrible, but it was kind of a middle of the road match for me. I think it's kind of interesting, like our Ring of Honor review. One of my top matches was the match that opened it, and I think it could have easily been here in place of of the what was the main event.
Honestly,
Uh,
yeah, I would have loved to see Tasha and Killer Kelly like close the show. I think that would be great. And again, I agree with you. We talked about it in Ring of Honor. How do you open the show with the women's championship match, and then the main event was the 6 man with all the luchadors, which was fun, but you should have switched those. And I agree, you could have switched Josh's and Khan's match, and then had Killer Kelly and Tasha close the show, and then set up the announcement for the women's tag. Would have been really, really good. Now, here's the other issue that I have with this before we get into ratings as well. I love Impact, but they need to stop telling me like all the matches that are happening like on the Fallout show. So like the next day they'll tape after the pay-per-views for the next coming weeks. Literally, they gave us that Alex Shelley will be going up against Jonathan Gresham, and the like star asterisk by it is that if Shelley retains his title, it will be for the Impact World Championship. And they did the same thing because it's going to be Josh versus Will Ospreay, which, by the way, that match is going to fucking rule. And listen, there are some matchups where everybody needs a cigarette. I need multiple cigarettes after that match because it's going to be intense. But they did the same thing. If Josh wins, it's going to be for the title. I'm like, y'all are spoiling like potentially who's winning this match. Like, what is happening? But also because it's going to be Josh versus Will. I mean, I think Will would do it, but I don't think in that case, I don't think Josh is winning that title because I can't see Will losing a match like that. And I love Josh to death, but this is Will Ospreay. I don't see him losing a match. So
Yeah, but like I was saying earlier, though, even champions, quote unquote, need to lose. I mean, they can't win every time. You
now,
know,
if Josh does win, though, because we are going to be in the UK very soon, towards the end, like the middle to the end of October, and Turning Point is going to be in the UK, I can actually see Josh winning the title only for him to lose it to Will. And then Will has it going into Turning Point, which my mind would be blown. Will Ospreay is literally having the best year of his life right now.
and it'd be great because you could give it to him. You've got a reason why, you have a chance to go over there and have him show up as the champion, be able to eventually, drop the title to somebody else or whatever. But I feel like if the Shelley Grisham fight, like if Alex Shelley wins the title or retains the title of Bound for Glory, it's almost like we know that Jonathan Grisham's not going to take the title off of him. So like, what's that? The more interesting match is Josh Alexander versus and so I think yeah, it's a weird setup. Like, tell us that after Bound for Glory, use that as your lead out for that show.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to happen, oh, this person won, or, whatever the case is. But yeah, it was trying to do too much again.
Again, I love Impact, and even though we were critique it, I do love a lot of the talent. We just need to pump the brakes a little bit and like make things make sense. Because since the summer has ended from Emergence up to this point, this is the chunk of Impact. I was like, what are we doing? like so from Emergence till now, I'm like this last like month and a half, 2 months. It's like, what are we doing? Like, how did we get here? I mean, I'm still gonna watch, but literally, how did we get here? But that's gonna bring us to the end of this week's Table for Two Plus U review. So let's get into our final ratings. I'm out of 10. I'm gonna give this like a 5.2 out of 10. Again, inherently on paper, nothing was egregiously horrible. No, I take that back. The Tommy Dreamer segment really killed the momentum for me. And I just felt like, and we were talking a little bit about this off camera before we started, recording the review. It felt so uneven in terms of like the weight of the video packages and the promo versus the weight of the matches themselves. And look, I know we have to build towards the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, which is like so far the only gimmick match we have for Bound for Glory. And that's always a staple every year. It's literally everybody who doesn't have a championship match gets put in that, gauntlet, and then the winner gets a future title shot. But just the weight of the video packages and the again, Like they better rectify this next week. But I'm like, the only thing we saw of your women's championship from Trinity is the video, is like the backstage interview, and I'm like, homegirl is having a whole ass match in 2 weeks, so I better see her and Mickey on my TV screen in person, not backstage or in video packages, like we did with Killer Kelly and Masha, like this week. Like they were on television. Let's Trinity please be on the TV screen. But again, I just felt like the pacing was off. A lot of segments went too long. The weight between the packages and the promos versus the actual matches is off. Definitely for me, I love Tasha versus Killer Kelly. That was my number two, but just from the sheer hilarity of it, of everything, and just how entertained I was, the strap match that we got was actually one of my personal favorites. But even that was not enough to save it for my final grade of like a 5.2 out of 10. Impact, we got 2 weeks of Bound for Glory. I hope you kick it up a couple notches because I'm excited for Bound for Glory, but I want this build to be good too. So y'all need to get it together. Andrew, let's go to you next. What do you rate this week's Impact Wrestling episode?
Well, based on my scoring, this Impact episode got a 5.5, so not far off from where you ranked it. My top two matches were the same matches, the fans' revenge match, and then the match that set us up for the Knockouts tag team titles. Those were definitely at the top. I ranked those up pretty high, but some of the other things like the Dreamer promo with Crazy Steve, the Moose match, and all that craziness that happened after it kind of brought those scores down. Um, yeah, I'd like to see some more cohesive activity going on, some more well developed storyline. Maybe trim away some of the other things. I know there might be some stuff going on behind the scenes that just makes it harder to get everyone around. So you got to fill in those spots. But I agree. Bound for Glory is coming up. It's got some really strong potentials in the matches that it has, but the build-up has just been rough, and it's not necessarily setting me up with confidence for the go-home show for this. So, yeah, 5.5 for me. I think it's the lowest that I've ranked Impact shows since I've started, and I'm hoping it's just a blip, but we'll see what happens.
Will, what do you give this week's episode?
Well, I gave it a 4.5 because I thought the continuity of it was screwy. I thought a lot of the matches didn't make any sense. Now that, with all that said, the wrestlers themselves did great. You know, the matches were not horrible necessarily. The fighting was pretty good. It's just that it didn't make any damn sense. And of course the Tommy Dreamer stuff just killed it for me. It took me a while to get back into it after that. Even in the fun match, I was just sort of like, "Oh, this is fun," and yeah, but God, I'm still reeling from that Tommy Dreamer crap that we had to watch. And so, and I thought the ending match was mediocre at best, and it felt a little useless. I thought. It's like if you're trying to set stuff up for Bound for Glory, stop using matches to do that. Make the matches. If you want to make a match make sense, then make it make sense to what you're trying to do. And the thing went with Moose's match. It made no damn sense. That was a waste of time. And this whole episode, it wasn't necessarily horrible or bad, or it was just so out of phase. I didn't know what was going on. My number one match is the women's match at the beginning. My number two is the fun match. Because I enjoyed watching the fun match, but the women's match for me was just spot on great. Because it was, and I'm sorry everybody out there, but I believe honestly that the opening match was the only true wrestling match in the entire episode. Honestly, it actually made sense. It was the only one that made sense. And I was just like, well,
Agreed.
all right, at least we got that.
I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised if Gail Kim was behind it because Gail Kim knows. We all know that she is Booker when it comes to the women's division, and I listen. I trust Gail Kim with women's booking and Impact like with my life. Like I put my
Right.
reputation on that. Like girl knows her stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, so yeah, it was 4.5 for me tonight. I just couldn't get on board with a lot of it.
Ugh. Impact, we have 2 weeks still bound for glory, so we got to kick it up a notch and hopefully things start to make sense because I'm excited for Bound for Glory. I just want the journey there to be as great as the actual pay per view.
But
Because
see,
other, Mhm.
that's my thing though. Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's my thing. It's like they're focusing on Bound for Glory, and they're not focusing on their weekly stuff. It's like, oh, just throw some shit together. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares because we're almost at the pay per view. So, but it's like, yeah, we kind of do care. It's like,
Right. I think the biggest issue is because they have announced like the matches that are happening so far in advance and we're not seeing the build to this on the weekly television shows. I think is throwing me off. So the only ones that make sense to me right now is literally the two tag team championship matches that we have because at least ABC and Rascals have had some sort of interaction the last couple weeks and then with this briefcase ABC has solidified a shot at the title at Bound for Glory. And then same thing, even though it was just announced on the Impact this week, the women's tag team championships make sense to me because Tasha pinned Killer Kelly, like she pinned a champion, so her and Deanna are going to face again MK Ultra. That one's not as connected as ABC and the Rascals, but at least it makes sense.
yeah, it makes sense.
And I don't know.
And
We'll Go ahead.
can I say something else real quick? I know I'm talking a lot. But
It's fine.
something else that doesn't really make any sense to me, and I know it's going to be a fantastic fight. I know, but it's the whole Chris Sabin Kento fight. I don't understand that fight. Where did it come from? I mean, I know there's
Yeah.
probably history. I get that, but it was like, but in the grand scheme of things, it
No,
felt
I
so
agree.
out of nowhere.
It was a little weird that Kenta's the one to face Chris Sabin out of nowhere. I'm not complaining,
Well, no, I'm not
but
either. But it's
I
just,
agree with you. I was just like, this is I'm okay. So I know New Japan and Impact, they do a lot of like they have like a whole pay-per-view together with Multiverse United. They've done 2 of those this year. I'm wondering if Kenta coming over means that Impact is going to have something to do with New Japan. Also, by the way, I forgot to send this into the group chat today, but Impact and AAA are going to have a super show that is going to actually be available to watch in November. I'm like, listen, Impact and Luchadors, please give it to me now. Josh Alexander versus El Hijo del Vikingo. I need to see it. Please let it be that. God, I'm not. Listen, I want to fantasy book everything and anything, and just there's so many. And again, like Sexy Star versus Deanna Purrazzo would be great. Uh, I'm going way off track, but back to Kenta and Chris Sabin. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited, but I agree with you because this is the one match I was just like, this has been the weird. And I agree with what Andrew said earlier in the episode too. It's really hard to build this match because Kenta's not actually in the Impact building, like in the Impact zone, so to speak of, in person to build up this match. Is just a lot of video packages. What I'm thinking is going to happen is the go home show is when Kenta shows up, but I feel like I would like to see it next week. Kenta actually make his presence known, but we'll see what happens with all that.
and the other one I don't really get. And again, I know there's all kinds of history and stuff. I get it. I don't get this whole Will Osprey thing either.
Oh,
Where the hell did
trust
that
me.
come from? No, I mean,
Again,
no,
I know.
I think the fights are going to be amazing. I just don't know where the hell all this is coming from. Like in story, in stuff, in story, I don't understand
Agreed.
where it's all.
Well, again, because
What irritates me more is when they bring outside talent in. And no matter what the history is, this Will has not been here. I mean, as far as long as I've been here, anyway, and I haven't been here very long. But he hasn't been in the picture, and then suddenly here he is.
No,
So I don't.
Will was a part of Impact like years ago, but he hasn't been around. And again, I think it's because Will is in New Japan, and
I
in New
Googled.
Japan and Impact have a relationship. So I can see why New Japan would lend them some of their stars, and probably New Japan will ask Impact to lend them some of their stars later, which is good for business. But I also agree.
Right.
I'm excited for Mike Bailey versus Will, but again, like Bound for Glory is your
I don't know.
big marquee matches aren't being used with like the talent of Impact. I see what you mean,
Well,
but
it's like here
again,
we're going to have our Impact champion come in and do something, but we're going to have someone from the outside take his title from him. What? Which is what this is what it feels like that Will's coming in to basically take over everything, and that kind of doesn't sit right with me. That's like, and I don't know how to reconcile that within myself.
I will say it's interesting that the build up, like you look at Wrestle Dream, and there were competitors from other companies and stuff like that, and it feels like it had a similar amount of time to kind of build up. But there was excitement behind it without feeling like it was being forced to be built up to that point. It felt like a new match would get announced and you'd see it and you'd be like either tied into the things you've been watching or the match itself was just something that you were just like, all right, this might just seem to be a match that they put together, but it's a match I want to see happen. And Bound for Glory has matches that should be really good, but it feels like the buildup wasn't there and it hasn't come naturally.
Yeah.
And so it it doesn't have the steam that it should for the matches that are on it. And I think once it actually happens, it'll live up to what it should be. Because I mean, the performers that are involved are really good,
Right.
but because of that, the lead up and the feeling we should have going into it should reflect that. So,
Right. And I think also, it's like when we talk about like Wrestle Dream and things like where you get ooh, if I could look across the entire spectrum of all the wrestling companies, I'd like to see these people kind of come against each other. But see, when you do things like that, titles shouldn't be involved. That's my thing. If you want to bring people back over, you want to bring folks from New Japan over, titles shouldn't be involved. I just have my take on it because I think titles should stay within Impact. I mean, if it's an Impact title, it should stay there. Now, if Will Ospreay is going to come over and become an Impact member, then yay. But bringing people, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me because it's like these guys, these people have been working their asses off in these titles. They fought their asses off in the titles, and now you're going to have someone come in and take it off of them. See, that just doesn't sit right with me. It didn't sit right with me, and I don't care how great the people are because I googled Will Ospreay because I wanted to find out who he was and everything. And I watched some videos on him, and I was like, okay, this guy's pretty badass, but he's not Impact. don't bring somebody in to take a title away from an Impact player. I just that just really it pisses me off, and you're gonna see me get extremely salty because and I will have some hot takes on that. So, but anyway.
right?
You may
I
wrap
agree.
up. I'm sorry.
As no, I love it because we here at the Viconics, all 9 of us are very passionate about professional wrestling. Whether it be we've been watching forever, some of us are coming back, or some of us, in certain cases, are new to all this. But all 9 of us bring a unique perspective on it, and again, I agree. All the performers involved in Bound for Glory, I'm really excited to see these matches, but I agree with both of you. I just wish the feeling for the buildup would be the same for, the excitement level of the buildup should equal this or exceed the excitement level that I have for just looking forward to the pay per view. But that does bring us to the end of this week's review for Impact Wrestling. We're going to continue to review it because we're 2 weeks away from Bound for Glory. So the whole Impact, we need you to get it together just a tiny bit, please. please. But if you like this review, you can check out other reviews for Impact Wrestling as well as pretty much all the other weekly TV shows because we watch a lot of wrestling, you guys. It's crazy out here. But you can check those out here on the Viconics YouTube channel for the TV reviews and the pay-per-views because we also cover those. If you want to be notified when all these things go live, you can check us out at BC WrestlePod all over the social medias to stay up to date for us. Also, be on the lookout for clips of these reviews because, we're out here now. And if you think this was an unhinged episode, you should check out the Biconics YouTube podcast where we're more unhinged. And we also get full conspiracy theory. It's a lot of fun. Like we have no evidential basis of what we're talking about, but trust me, it is a great time to listen to, and you should join us in our madness. But this has been Mikey, joined by my lovely co-hosts for this, Will and Andrew. And from all three of us and the rest of the Biconics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and until the next review, we'll see you later. But until then, ta-ta for now.